some companies do have money, unlike the United States government. Yahoo, you probably heard about this. They bought Tumblr, the micro-blogging site, today for $1.1 billion. Yes, that's right, $1.1 billion for Tumblr. If you're not familiar with Tumblr, it's sort of a cross between Facebook and Twitter, a lot of images and video. Now, this seems hard for me to believe because we all thought, I think, that Yahoo was kind of dead. It seems like Tumblr maybe should have bought the remnants of Yahoo. What do you think?
Yeah,
go ahead.
So there's a lot of, there's a lot of talk and chatter, among everyone in Silicon Valley, on tech blogs and everywhere about, in business news, everywhere about whether this was a good deal or a bad deal for Yahoo and for Tumblr. Well, for Tumblr, it's a great freaking deal.
1.1.
Yeah, they $1.1 billion.
Yeah.
So let me quickly tell you about Tumblr's finances the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So in 2012, they did $13 million in revenue, but they had $25 million in expenses. And this year, they did $13 million in the first quarter, which is great, but the goal was to hit $100 million, so they're not going to hit that at all. And it's really interesting because apparently, according to Forbes, Facebook, Microsoft, and Google all passed on an opportunity to buy Tumblr, but Yahoo stepped in and bought them. And Yahoo is famous for buying things and then screwing it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Can you give me an example?
Of things that they've screwed up, like GeoCities, for example, at one time was their big foray into social networking, and it just kind of crumbled under Yahoo.
Okay.
Yeah, so Marissa Mayer, who was a CEO, basically said today that she won't screw it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that was her first tweet.
Yeah.
We just spent a $1.1 billion, and her first tweet is, relax, we're going to lay our hands off this
That
thing.
they're not going to change Tumblr.
Right.
Right, okay. So go ahead, you got more, Steve?
Yeah, so the big winner is the CEO of Tumblr.
Yeah.
27-year-old David Karp, who was a high school dropout. And he owned roughly 25% of the company. So his take on this, $250 million.
Okay.
Who does this guy think he is, Ryan Seacrest?
Yeah, 200. And is there any chance that in reality, I mean, you just read those numbers, Tumblr is not making money the way they thought they would, right? Is there any chance that $1 billion, where does the billion come from? Because, Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion, right? And is there any proof that it has made them a dime? I don't think so. So it seems odd to me that it always goes to $1 billion, as if they can't negotiate for anything less than $1 billion.
That's the weird thing that you made that point, because as Steve just said, everybody else who was in a position to buy them passed. So you think they could have got it at a bargain, maybe $500 million like they paid for MySpace.
Precisely.
That's a deal.
Right. Was $600 million, was that not in the cards with anybody? It just seems
You know
odd
what
to
I
me.
mean?
They're negotiating against themselves or something.
Yes.
It's really interesting. I think Yahoo is desperately trying to become relevant and cool. And they made a lot of moves lately. I mean, hiring Marissa Mayer from Google, that was a big move. So they tried to buy Dailymotion, and the French government said, no, you can't do it. So they're desperate to buy something. Buying Tumblr is a way for them to stay relevant and interesting. And it's kind of ridiculous that Yahoo is not considered like old, boring company, because back in early 2000, they were the hottest thing.
Yeah. So does that just show you how quickly these things change? I mean, when News Corp bought MySpace, everyone thought that was going to be a great deal, and now look. So are we going to look back on this a year and laugh more than most people are laughing today?
I think so. And I think both with Instagram and with Tumblr, before they can make back the $1 billion that they were purchased for, they're gonna become uncool. And as soon as they're bought by these giant companies, they by definition become less cool.
Yes.
And something cooler will come up.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of hitting on it. It seems to me like all of us that use these things as tools, I don't know that Twitter nor Facebook or any of them have made a dime off of me, even though I use all of them. So does that seem like
I got an invitation in the mail the other day asking if I've been invited to advertise on Twitter. I'm like, thanks for the invitation.
Wow, so
Here's
you're being
money.
invited to spend money on their platform.
Yes, I did. Have you gotten that email? I just got it just last week.
Yeah, I've gotten it.
And I was like, what is that? You're invited from Twitter. I'm like, what am I invited to? And it says, you're invited to give us money. That was pretty funny.
Sweet.
So, this whole thing of, was there any kind of, did the government had to okay this? Was this, you know what I mean? There's nothing essential involved in this service
This
that they
thing went
provide,
down
right?
pretty quickly. There weren't grumblings about this. I remember when Instagram got bought, that there was like a week or two of this thing's going to happen, but this kind of was just like that. So.
Yeah, and you know, to go to the idea that because it was bought by Yahoo, by definition, it becomes less cool.
Yeah.
We have a quote from TechCrunch's co-editor, Alexia Satsis. She says, quote, for whatever reason, she says Tumblr is part of our identity, but for whatever reason, I don't want to identify with Yahoo.
Well, there you go. That break. So, okay, so as someone that runs one of these new media companies, where do they have $1 billion? How is it possible that Yahoo has $1 billion just sitting there?
You know, it's amazing, and Google has even more. They just have billions upon billions sitting there, and you know
what?
what?
Are they swimming in this money?
They are swimming in the money
somewhere in there.
And kudos to Tumblr and this David Karp kid for selling when he did, because I'm glad they weren't foolish like Groupon. Because Groupon, you know, they were offered, I think, $6 or $7 billion from Google, and they decided, no, we're going to pass on that deal, and we're going to do it on our own. And now they're basically worthless. They have competition from every single corner. Look, that's the height of hubris. When someone offers you $6 or $7 billion, sell the company.